Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another St. Charles Stories. You know me, I'm Nate Wynn, Tourism Sales Coordinator for the Alliance. Also here representing the Alliance is our marketing strategist, Rachel Garland.
Hello, everyone.
We have a great episode for you guys here today as we're going to be talking with Jeff Hunt, who is the founder and director over at the St. Charles Singers. So, Jeff,
Hello.
It is great to see you today.
Well, it's great to be here.
Yeah,
exciting.
Absolutely. So, we're super excited to get to share your story and the story of the St. Charles Singers. So let's start off with you. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been in the St. Charles area for? Favorite things to do here, and maybe a fun fact if you have one off the top of your head.
Well, I was born and raised in St. Charles. I actually was born in Geneva, Geneva Community Hospital, which is no longer there, in 1958. So I've been a resident of St. Charles for many years, just leaving once in a while to go to school, that sort of thing. I've always had my roots here. So I went to St. Charles High School at that when there was just one at that particular time.
Okay.
And so St. Charles has been a part of my family and my life for many, many years. It's a wonderful community. I think one of my favorite things to do in the community is enjoy the parks. I think we have some of the best parks
Awesome.
around, and now we see a hugely vibrant restaurant scene, and so it's really been fun to see St. Charles really grow over those 64 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's a true testament that we could keep you here, and keep growing your livelihood here. So that's awesome that you're able to, stay here and be an active part of the community. Yeah.
Raised my family here, and they all went to school in the St. Charles schools system. So it's a great community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Can you kind of touch on a little bit like where your passion from music came from, where it began, when it started, things like that?
Well, actually, it began early on for me. I attended church at Baker Memorial United Methodist Church, and we had a fantastic choir director. His name was Dr. Bethuel Gross. And I started singing in the choir then when I was just maybe 5 or 6 years old. And that really started to pique my interest in music. I started to love singing a lot. And then as I went through school, I enjoyed it even more and had a lot of wonderful experiences with John Stoffel, who at that time was the high school choir director. So I think between my early experience at Baker Memorial Church and then my music making at St. Charles High School, those were really significant moments for me. As a matter of fact, the Baker situation is interesting because I took over from Dr. Gross when he retired in 1984. So he was my mentor at the very beginning, and then since then I've been the choir director. But I think those are the significant parts, and then along the way, just opportunities for me to experience music. I remember playing the role of Oliver for Wheaton College when they did it back I think it was in 1970s, something like that. So I just had these moments in my early career that were just inspiring for me. I was very grateful and lucky to be able to experience those things.
That's awesome. And then you also teach part-time at Elgin Community College, correct?
I do. I teach part-time there. In fact, I was just telling Nate that I've been there for 17 years, and It's hard to believe it's been that long. I started around 2004, and what a fantastic college that is. I'll give it a prop, because I think it's just a huge asset to our community. Great students, really interested in learning, great work ethic there. And I teach world music, and I teach music history and music appreciation. So I'm part-time there. It's one of the three things I do in my musical world. I'm I'm not a part-time musician, but I make my living doing all sorts of different things,
right?
To make it all work, right? So yeah, it's a wonderful school.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you're a full-time musician between, the singers and teaching.
Oh, I am. Yeah, it's just that I don't have that one full-time job,
right.
Which is kind of a nice thing to be able to do, because my life and my day changes so dramatically. It keeps me interested and focused and on different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so between, Elgin Community College and then also with the singers, let's go into talking about that, because I think it's so cool to kind of learn about the history of such an amazing organization that's been here in the community. So can you take us to like when you founded the singers and like what goals like did you have when you first, began the organization?
Yeah, the group actually started in 1984. This was not long after I graduated from Northwestern. I got a degree in choral conducting, and I wanted to keep music alive. And not long after I graduated, I went into business with joined my father's business in the textile business. So
Okay.
I didn't enter music full time right away. And so, but I really wanted to keep music alive in my life. And I was fortunate to have siblings who all sang. My brother David Hunt, who's the owner of Townhouse Books in St. Charles, he sings in the choir. He's been singing in it from the very beginning. My
Okay.
sister Jennifer and my brother Greg and my wife at the time, Grace, we all kind of started this group together in a way. And I took the lead role of it. And then I got in touch with singers that I knew I had worked with and graduated from St. Charles, or just friends of mine in the community. And we started off then in 1984, just having fun as a social event to kind of just sing together and make music. At that time, we organized ourselves as a 501c charitable organization under the name of Mostly Madrigal Singers. So then eventually I could talk about that, how the name change happened. But
Right.
so, and we started off as just a small group of maybe 12 or so singers. And that was kind of our origins. And I really, one of the goals, I think, from the very beginning, even though it was kind of socially minded, was to perform choral music as the very best we could. I mean, to take the music making as seriously as we could and to see what we could do with it. But we had no idea where it was going to go, how long the singers would stay with it. And, but it grew really from there.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's been incredible to kind of see. I mean, I've gone to a few performances in recent years, and I mean, it's such high quality stuff. So, like, can you just take us through kind of like the history, and through how you got to today? As you said, starting off with like 12 singers, and then growing that organization. Because how many singers do you guys have now?
Right now we have a cadre of about 50 singers that
Yeah.
we draw from. So, and they're not always used at the same time. So after our experience in 1984, when we got started, we really found ourselves aligned, wanting to ally ourselves with other missions, charitable missions. And so our first actual performance in 1984 was to benefit the Salvation Army. And there's kind of an interesting story about that.
We'd love to hear it.
Well, okay. Well, we raised, this was at the Baker Hotel and in the Rainbow Room. And we wanted to raise money for the Salvation Army. So we did. We raised $400, which was, that was a great first effort for us. We were so excited about it. So I took home the cash, the money, and I put it in a little piece of tin foil and put it in the meat drawer. And I told my wife, Grace, I said, okay, I'm putting this, hiding it, and I'm going to put it in the meat. I'm going to deposit it then the next day, right, in the bank. And sure enough, the next day was garbage day.
Oh,
and
no.
so she accidentally threw out this $400 in cash. And so I went in the afternoon to go get it, and it was gone. So I called my dad and I said, what am I going to do? We've raised this money. He said, well, I'll loan you the $400, but you'll have to pay it back. So sure enough, I was teaching at that time. I was teaching high school music up in Wakanda, which is a northern suburb, right? So I, took that money out of my paycheck for a couple of weeks and paid the Salvation Army the $400. So that was our auspicious beginning, right? But then early on after that, we allied ourselves with Casa of King County, and we did several series of concerts, maybe around 7 to 10, focusing on Christmas performances, raising money, help raise money for Casa of King County. We did children's concerts and had Santa join, and it was just I think that's one of the things that I love about the choir so much, that it came from a place of really wanting to enter into the community and give back as much as we could. And then in the 1990s, one of the significant things musically that happened for us was we joined and became a part of the St. Charles Art and Music Festival, which was a festival. Some of your listeners will maybe remember this. It was a 10-year festival that was really significant in the life of St. Charles. We brought in really amazing artists: Itzhak Perlman, Frederica von Stade, Lynn Harrell on the cello. We did theater programs. We used the Norris Cultural Arts Center for wonderful performances in the Arcada. Yeah, it was just a remarkable thing. And the St. Charles Singers were a part of each one of those concerts, 5 of them. And so that was a kind of a very, very important moment for us in terms of our growth. And it was towards the end of that time period that we decided to change our name. And in the early 2000s, then we changed our name to the St. Chares Singers, just because we were feeling that we needed to identify ourselves more with the community and the place. And the Mostly Madrigal Singers was kind of an innocuous name. Does that mean you perform only madrigals? Or, it just,
Right.
it was a little bit limiting. And a madrigal is, it's a great, wonderful art form. It's secular music for unaccompanied voices, but we were starting to do a lot of other things. Our repertoire was changing. We were doing larger works and just so we wanted to kind of just open ourselves up to other repertoire. And that was a significant moment. And we then at that moment in the mid 2000s, we pivoted ourselves to a professional organization where we started to pay our singers. And that was a huge commitment. And I started to get paid as the director. So
always feels good.
yeah. So that was a major achievement on the board. We've been so lucky over the past 7 years to have amazing board of directors just cycle through. And they made this commitment to become a professional organization, which meant that we hired an executive director as well. And so that happened in the early 2000s. So lots of important time. So I liked how we grew as a group. We kind of grew as a volunteer organization, building our awareness of what our needs were, our identity. And then we eventually, grew into, the organization. We're still growing, we're still evolving. We're still in a way, evolving and seeing what we want to do next. And there's always that part of it. So that's kind of our history. And since then, boy, we'll talk about the Mozart Journey, but it's just been one kind of plateau on another, building block of making friends, making acquaintances, and so forth in our community and outside the community,
and celebrating music as well.
And celebrating music, we have about 800 pieces in our repertoire now that we've performed,
Awesome.
Which is a lot of music.
Wow.
Some of them might only last 2 minutes, some might last 2 or 3 hours, but it's a lot. We built a pretty significant repertoire.
That's
over those
awesome.
years.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Is there something that you particularly take pride in that you've kind of accomplished throughout this group?
Well, I think that's such a great question, because it's hard. It's kind of at the soul of why I keep doing what I do. I've been doing it for many, many years, and it's building on all these kind of memories that I have with the choir. I think one of the most important things is to be able to feel like we've contributed culturally to the community, which I think we really have. And we try to offer music for our local communities so they don't have to travel very far to hear what we hope is quality choral music. And when we bring in an orchestra, they'll hear an orchestra as well. I think also since we become a professional organization, giving young singers especially, and more advanced singers, opportunity to make money in their career and their path. That's been a real joy for me. A lot of times I'll see musicians go to school and they'll get their degrees in music, and what do I do next, kind of a thing.
Right.
And even though we're offering them just part-time work, it kind of fills a need that they'll do other things to make it work, but to offer that employment is also significant for them. And I think just representing our community like we've tried to do is so fulfilling for the whole organization.
I mean, sometimes that opportunity is all you need to kind of start your passion and career path. So that's really great.
Mm-hmm. That's really true, because a lot of the singers have, when they've left the choir, they've moved or whatever, they stay in touch and say, this was really meaningful for me. And it was kind of part of my building block in my career as a teacher, music teacher, or music educator, or music performer. They remember us as being part of that cog in the wheel, so that's hugely rewarding.
Definitely. And so, I mean, obviously you see people kind of grow and develop. Is there something that you always try to instill in your members to keep kind of that consistency?
I think there's quite a bit of that. That I really pride ourselves on the fact that we're a community. I think any choir, if you join a choir, you feel like you're part of a family,
Yeah.
just like you are you know, a sports team. You know, when you join a baseball team or soccer team, you're at that moment you're really part of a bigger thing than just you, right? And I think instilling family has been a huge part of it. And I firmly believe in instilling the fact, especially in a choir, that no one is better than the next. You know, I remind them, you may think you are, but we're a choir for a reason, and that is to make music collectively as an ensemble.
Mhm.
So, you know, support the voices that may not be as strong as yours, be compassionate singers, um, you know, sing with that idea of compassion, knowing that maybe your voice is stronger, so you need to bring the other voice along with you. I think that brings about a really healthy environment for making really good music making. And I also encourage my singers to sing with imagination. Not only are we collectively trying to make music, but we're a choir that relies on each individual person contributing as much they can, as much as they can, through their own craft and through their own imagination. You know, it shouldn't just be, we're not just a one amoeba kind of working together. Then we rely on everybody, you know, everybody working hard and being prepared. And that's the other thing. As a professional organization, I expect them to come prepared for rehearsals. We don't teach notes in our choir necessarily. You know, once in a while we'll have to review things, but I expect them to be prepared with their notes ready to go. And you know, you're paid to perform and not to. We're not here to teach you music. You know, we're here to instruct you when you can, when we need to, on ensemble making. But you know, that part needs to be done on your own. You know,
Yeah, a
so
little individual responsibility.
yeah, taking individual responsibility. And that's something that the choir, it's been wonderful to see them really embrace that.
Yeah.
There were moments I remember when we first started, where things just weren't, you know, in the early rehearsals weren't going right. So not to be mean or anything, I would just go, okay, Sally, sing that line of music for me, would you please? You know, as soon as you do you do that once or twice, it just the whole culture changes. Not to be, I wasn't doing it to be mean, but I
Yeah,
just
but
said
to
in a
help
statement,
out and make sure that,
you know, it doesn't
yeah.
happen. It won't happen again. You know, next week you don't want to be called out and say,
Oh
not,
yeah. I
you
remember
know,
my time during choir in middle school where I
yeah.
get called out, I'd be like, I would just freeze up and be like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
But it makes it better.
Yes.
It makes the whole group. And if you do it in a way to where it's a safe environment for them. They trust the fact that they're there, that they're important, and they're not being called out because you don't like them, or you want them to just be as good as they can be. And that's the culture that we try to instill
Right.
Oh
in the
yeah.
group.
I mean, and that fosters a sense of accountability too. I think that way
Absolutely.
it alleviates some of that from you and just kind of creates that culture and high performance quality, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any particular performances that are just your favorite or stand out even just as a fun memory?
I do. I have a couple. I'm going to try to refer to
Awesome.
my notes here. Um, one of the some of the, I think, really amazing memories I have evolve around people that have been a part of it. One of the moments in my life that's been so meaningful to me is meeting other musicians and other people that impacted me and become my mentors. One being John Rutter. He's a choral director and composer from England. He's probably considered one of the best choral conductors in the world today, or choral composers in the world today, most well known. And he came to our St. Charles Art and Music Festival concerts
Okay.
in the early 90s, and asked him to come once and perform. He conducted us in a performance of Mozart Requiem. And he then came back 7 times and flew from England and conducted us. So all the
So
performances with
cool.
him, we did a premiere work of a piece that he wrote for us with George Shearing, the great jazz pianist. And Mr. Shearing died maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And George was blind. And so John Rutter was kind of the amanuensis. George would record the music at his place in New York and send at that time a tape to John, and John would write the music out and send the music to me, and we'd rehearse it and perform it. So George came and did the performance at the Arcada Theater with us. And It was just a remarkable experience. One of the things, touching moments of that, we had an open rehearsal then, and we had a young boy who was a piano teacher of one of our singers attend the rehearsal, and he was blind. He was 11 years old, and I introduced him to Mr. Shearing, and George said, "Come here up to the piano. I want to play piano with you." So he sat down next to this young man, and he has to now put your hands on the piano, and he did. And George put his hands over this little boy's hand, and he said, "Just let me lift your hands up and play the music with you." And he played "Send in the Clowns" and sang it. The whole place was just in tears,
Yeah.
watching this happen.
Yeah.
Those moments, for me are just remarkable, where those you get to really feel the power of music working through people, even outside of a performance. Another
Right.
one I remember was we were at Baker Church performing it was called the Lord Nelson Mass by Haydn, with an orchestra and soloists and choir. And all of a sudden we had a thunderstorm go through, and the power went out during the concert, right? And it was just an evening performance. So sure enough, I just decided to keep conducting. I could barely see anything. The orchestra couldn't see me really. The choir really couldn't see me, but we kept going for about 30 seconds, 34, and the power went on, and we didn't miss a beat. It was just,
Powered by the power of positivity.
Positivity. Somehow we just kept it going. We were not going to let it stop. That was another
That's
another
awesome.
moment. Yeah. Just, I think things like that are powerful moments in my life that remind of me of the beauty and the joy of music making. And some of them come about when there are moments where you're either filled with joy or filled with terror, like I was with the Haydn Mass. But other than that, just I think of all the concerts that we've given over the years. There's been wonderful memories made from all of them, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And now kind of going through the past, let's talk about the future as well with the Mozart. Well, I guess we'll go through the past too, because it's been a huge part of this is the Mozart journey.
Mhm.
What is it? When did it begin, and what is its importance to you?
Mm. Around 2010, this would have been a year that we were approaching our 250th anniversary. I mentioned to our board, I said, we need really something, our 25th anniversary, we need something to propel us forward in the next decade, And I said it would be really nice to focus on a composer's work, if we could, and maybe have that be a part of what we do. And so I looked at various composers, and I came on to Mozart as being one to consider and eventually one to do, and focus on a genre of his music that I felt that was underperformed in many ways. Even myself, knowing with a degree in music, knowing a lot of his choral music, didn't know as much as I thought I knew. That's for sure. When I looked at all the music that was out there, and finding recordings of pieces that he had that been recorded of his, but very few recordings of them. So assuming that this would be a really a good project for the choir. Number one, we'd learn a repertoire. We'd get to get in the mind of a composer as best we could, and we could take on this amazing journey. So I put together a plan of 17 concerts when I looked at all the repertoire with, and I actually formed a group of kind of an artistic advisory group with me, made up of Jonathan Saylor, who's the head of musicology at Wheaton College. I wanted his historical perspective on it. And then Tom Yang, who's been our concert master for all these concerts, I included him, and also our principal oboe player, who's our hirer for our orchestra. So we formed kind of this artistic team once I decided this is what we want to do. And we put together 17 concerts. And within that idea, we wanted to put together music that would kind of be contrasting, that would show Mozart in different views, different kind of sounds, and also include some instrumental music of his. So it started in 2010, really on the basis of the fact that we really felt that a lot of his music was underperformed, and it would be really an interesting project, which it has been. It's been just and we at that moment, at that time, I said to the board, I think we could probably do this in 8, maybe 10 years. That was our kind of, and we budgeted, and I could talk about when I think about the journey, I think about the challenges from an artistic standpoint, but also from a business standpoint, a financial standpoint, which we knew going into it were going to be significant. So it's kind of been a twofold approach on it. So that's when it really started, and why it started really. And from there, I put together, as I mentioned, these concerts. I think there's some things that we learned about this project along the way artistically that we didn't know going into it. We discovered that we think we're going to be the first American choir that's ever performed all of his sacred music and recorded it. So, and we didn't know that going into it. That wasn't my intention. It was to be the first.
But still, it's a nice little,
it's a nice thing.
Hat, yeah.
So, and
a feather in the hat.
So it's been really monumental to do it, and we put together a passport at the very beginning. Our first concert, we developed a passport so people that can come at each Journey concert would have their passport stamped, kind of give them a part of the journey.
Yeah.
And we have several people that have been to every one, all 17 concerts. So we decided that we wanted to create kind of a rubric cube of interesting, colorful, concerts that would really describe Mozart's beauty. And the thing about Mozart is that we discovered in his music is that people know his operas, like, the Magic Flute and, the Marriage of Figaro, and gorgeous melodies, right? They knew his Requiem, they knew his Coronation Mass, but we didn't know all this incredible music that has not been performed, as tuneful as all these other music that he's written. And so I would ask the audience, I would say, raise your hand if you've ever heard this piece, this Mass in whatever, Mass in G. No one would raise their hand. I'd ask the choir, who's ever sung this piece before you started rehearsing? Nobody would raise their hand. And I'd ask the choir, these are all professional orchestral players who play great orchestras in Chicago, Grant Park, Chicago Symphony Lyric. None have played it. So it's a big discovery for all of us to be able to perform this brilliant musician, right? On the level of Mozart, and to explore this repertoire.
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously with all the years that you guys have gone over, it's been 12 years since you've started, right?
Right. 12 years.
Yeah. And, that'll be culminating in this summer in August, correct? Like the journey will come to an end.
The journey will come to an end.
Yeah.
In August.
Is there any, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. In August, we're going to do his Requiem. That's a fitting ending, right? To do his most famous work. And the one that is shrouded in so much mystery, was he poisoned, or was he, how did Mozart die at such a young age? That will be a great way to end it. And one of the things, if I could just mention a couple more things about the music itself.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, is that much of his choral music, sacred choral music, was written when he was just a little kid. This weekend, in April, this coming weekend, we're performing his Mass. It's called K139. It's this Mass in C minor. It's 45 minutes long. He wrote it when he was 12, and he wrote it as a dedication to an orphanage, to a chapel that was being built in this orphanage in Vienna. So he conducted the first performance, and a lot of the boys in the choir would have been his age. So here's this 12-year-old boy conducting this music that he just wrote with these singers, and his brilliance and his genius comes through this youthful music. A lot of this, as I mentioned, his sacred choral music was written when he was just a teenager. And then he got interested in other things. He was writing operas, and he was writing symphonies, and he was writing all sorts of things, and he fell away from the sacred music part. But it's really interesting to me that at the very end of his life, one of the last pieces he writes is kind of a return to that genre. And it's very possible that Mozart, before he died, when he was just 36, was offered an appointment, as a job as a choral director, music director in Vienna somewhere. We're not completely sure about that. But so he was returning to his roots. The financial aspect of this has been an interesting process. As a 501c3, we relied on the generosity of patrons and also grants. Our executive director, Kay Kendall, has been heroic. She came on board the first year we started this journey, and we joked together, do you regret having to do that? Because it's essentially the whole journey will cost about $800,000 when we finish That, and we're an organization with a budget of about $250 to $300,000 annually a year. So it's been a significant process. It's been a significant dedication on the part of our board. And we got help along the way that, I sometimes relate it to this journey. A 12-year journey is running a marathon. I've never run a marathon before. I can only imagine what it's like on mile 12,
Right.
when you're kind of by yourself, and the fans aren't around necessarily, and no one's there to, do one of these for you. I kind of felt that way at around 2000 and maybe 15, when we were midway through. Are we going to be able to finish this? It's so expensive. It's so, it's a lot. It's beautiful, but it's financially, it's just because we were hiring an orchestra too, right?
Right.
So here comes along a gift from one of our patrons to buy an organ for us. And prior to that, I had to travel rent a van. We had to travel and rent a van. I would borrow an organ suitable for this music from Northwestern University, a friend of mine. And I'd meet him late at night. We'd haul this instrument into a rented van and I'd drive it back. And one of our patrons heard this story of me going back and forth Northwestern for all these years. And they said, what if we got an organ for you? So ended up giving us a gift of $45,000 to purchase this organ, but
Wow.
it was the seed that generated further giving. It was like we used it as a matching gift, and that was at year 2015, and that got us out of the woods. That got us into that. We can see the finish line. That moment.
Right.
Wow, it was just hugely impactful, and I give a lot of credit to our board to hang in there with it. We had the Illinois Arts Tour funding organization, which supports a lot of not-for-profits in Illinois. We're very fortunate to be able to get that. It's called the Illinois Council Agency Arts Tour and Live Music Grant that we've been able to get for the past 6 years. That's helped us, provide the funds that are necessary for the orchestra and guest artists and things like that. So
yeah, Jeff. So I mean, now with the end in sight, is there any anxiousness? Is there excitement? Is it, ideas on starting to see where next to take the St. Charles Singers?
Well, I think there's certainly anxiousness and huge joy that we're going to be able to know that we completed this journey. I think honestly, there'll be a little bit of a void, in all of our lives that you've put so much effort into, we put all together into this, and it's all of a sudden gone. But I think when voids are created, the energy is there to fill it up with something. And
Exactly.
there's a lot of things in our world today coming out of COVID. The needs of, when we look at the needs in the world related to social issues and equality, and there's a lot that music can do to speak to these issues, that be a part of telling a story of some kind. And I think that our music is going to reflect that.
Yeah.
It always has, but I think moving forward, we're going to be perhaps more intentional about that. And so I'm looking forward to dreaming. We haven't come up with programs yet to fill Mozart. It probably won't be another composer, though. Unless it's a composer that's only written a few things,
You're right.
But it'll be exciting. It'll be hopefully valuable to the community and interesting.
Absolutely. So, and we're getting short on time here, so we have to wrap up pretty quickly. How and when can people come watch you and the St. Charles Singers perform?
Well, we have I think a pretty robust website, www.stcharlessingers.com.
Yep.
And so you can buy tickets online. You can buy them. We have an office in St. Charles. You can call our office. We have an ticket outlet, St. Charles, the bookstore, Townhouse Books, offers tickets as well. So you can do that and check out our upcoming season that we're going to be bringing out shortly for 2022 and 23. That will come out shortly. And then also our final concert in August, the Mozart Requiem. I think if you've never heard Mozart before, maybe this is the one to go to. And it might be, just the one that turns you onto his music. You'll experience his other things. We are going to record this music and put it on our website. We've recorded it all. We'll have it available on our website. So people that have missed journeys can come back and listen to it.
Awesome.
Oh.
So that'd be great. And
Yeah.
yeah, well, that'll bring us to our last question, Jeff. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the St. Charles community before we wrap up the video?
If you've never tried singing in a choir before, sing. There are 54 million people in the United States that sing in a choir. I couldn't believe that when I heard that. Course America did a study, and it brings, even if you don't think you can sing, singing is a healthy experience. I've found that to be so true. So I encourage anybody to join a choir, sing. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
especially St. Charles Singers. If
Yeah,
they,
there you go.
give it a try out.
Give it a try.
So are we going to be looking for your guys' next event will be like an American Idol like audition where
there you go. Right, Choir America or something like that. Right.
St. Charles Idol. Here we go.
St. Charles Idol. Yeah.
So awesome. Well, Jeff, we really appreciate the time. It is so, I mean, it's truly our honor to get to learn about you and the St. Charles Singers, because you guys, just going through the history, you guys have done so much to bring culture and music and just life to our community with
Thank you.
your amazing events. I've always loved your candlelight carols, right? That's what it's called, the Christmas one.
Right.
Always love that performance. I think, that's so great. And just, I hope I get a chance to come see the Mozart one, because I think that's going to be a phenomenal performance. And for anyone watching, go check it out. See if you can get a ticket. Go see if you can clear your schedule. Go watch this performance, because it's going to be phenomenal, to say the least.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a joy to be part of this today with you both.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, that'll wrap up our video here. So thank you all again for watching. We'll have more videos coming down the road. So until then, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you all next time. Hey, everyone. Thank you again for watching our video here. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. So if you haven't, go check out some of our other content. There's so much information out there to learn about our amazing businesses, people in St. Charles, and so much more. If you have some time, we'd like to share some information with you about some amazing things that you can take advantage of to stay in tune with what's going on here in St. Charles. So the first up being, go to our website. If you go to our website, you can see all the amazing things that St. Charles offers, as we have so much information on there. You can find our happy hour hub, live music schedule, where to stay for a weekend, and so much more, especially to our events. Make sure to go to our events page, see all the events that are happening throughout the year, get them on your calendar, because they are so much fun. You don't want to miss them. So again, www.sccalliance.org, go check all that information out and go have some fun and plan your stay here in St. Charles. Another great way to stay informed on what's going on in St. Charles is our What's Up St. Charles newsletter. If you haven't, make sure to sign up for that. You can also sign up for that on our website by scrolling all the way to the bottom of the page. In the bottom, there will be a place where you can put your email in and sign up for the newsletter. It's a great way to stay informed on any of the major events that are coming up or anything going on in our businesses. We have businesses that put in deals, specials, and events in there. So it's a great way to stay on top of and check out some great places if you're interested. Last is, we've been super excited and happy about our Travel St. Charles app. It has been awesome to see the reception, as people have really been enjoying it and getting to use it to its full extent. If you haven't checked it out, make sure to, because you can take part in our new brewery tour challenge, where if you go to 6 breweries, you can win a t-shirt. Check that out. But we also have a little promo here that's going to talk about the app a little bit. So here's our little video on our Travel St. Charles app.